What's going on, everyone? We got an interesting video here by IGN. Not only talk about the PS6, but also the Steam Machine, Xbox Magnus, and everything, how AI is ruining gaming in general, and how it's already affecting the PS6 and the Magnus and the Steam Machine. So you guys let me know what you think about this. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's get into this.
Welcome back to Next Gen Console Watch, our show following all the latest gaming hardware. I'm Damon Hatfield, and as always, I'm joined by Max Scoville, host of Podcast Beyond, and Ryan McCaffrey, host of Podcast Unlocked. And this week we're talking about the rising cost of gaming hardware, all thanks to a RAM shortage that is being driven by AI data centers. So this is all based on original reporting by IGN's own Jackie Thomas. Now, back in November, RAM started to get more expensive due to vastly increased demand from AI data centers. AI models are incredibly memory intensive, and these data centers that are going up everywhere need more and more of it. So
you guys see this. This is them, in case if you were wondering what the image looked like. It's stuff like this, guys. And look how much it's taking up. You see how this mass feed works? And they're trying to build these all over the place.
Memory manufacturers have shifted their priorities to selling to AI companies because they have a lot of money right now. So how has that affected gaming PCs? Well, back in October, 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM cost about $90. Today, it's at least $360, an increase of 300%.
$360. $90 and you got a digital PlayStation 5. I'm telling you, what are they doing, man?
It means building or upgrading a gaming PC is really expensive right now. The RTX 5090,
and the Switch
top
too.
of the line graphics card available today, is over $4,000. But a year or two down the line, new consoles will be arriving, and a RAM shortage will definitely affect the PlayStation 6 and the next Xbox as well. None of this bodes well for the Steam Machine either. Valve announced its mini gaming PC back in November, said it would launch in January or February of this year, but as we move through that vague launch window, it is looking more likely that the Steam Machine is going to be more expensive than many were probably hoping. So Jackie reached out to Anshel Sag, principal analyst.
I agree with what he said. Like, that's the thing that we were talking about. Like, imagine that something could get the launch that it organically was supposed to get, right? And if Half-Life 3 was there too. And even then, you know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to get the launch you originally were supposed to get organically and let things run naturally the way they're supposed to be running. AI is ruining all that. And I can imagine how Valve feels too. I wouldn't, you know, it sucks. Because it could have had a bigger impact and could have sold more, but it's going to hinder and hurt its sales a bit, no matter what. And it's not like they were looking to sell console sales to begin with, even without that factor. But even then, it just ruins everything.
Let's add more insight and strategy, and he said to expect this memory shortage to extend into 2027 or even 2028. So, Max and Ryan, the cost of current gen consoles already went up due to tariffs. PS5s and Xbox Series X's and S's it's all more expensive today than when they launched 5 years ago. Nintendo raised the price of the Switch 1, and the Switch 2 is its most expensive console ever by a wide margin. PS5 Pro is $750. A 2 terabyte Xbox Series X is $800. We got the Steam Machine coming in at possibly $900. It seems like we could be looking at $1,000 consoles coming next gen, and I don't see how that would be sustainable, especially considering neither the PlayStation nor the Xbox audiences have grown in 2 decades. So after all that, who would like to jump into this saucy pool we've got going here? Max, what's your take on this?
I mean, the big question is, will we see them push the next generation of consoles? Will they, try to drag this one out? And I think that's a very plausible possibility. The thing that comes to mind is that last year's most played PlayStation games were the exact same ones as the year before.
Yep.
And they're all games you can play on PS4. And
that's the thing too. Third-party games. I've talked about this before, where it's like when you look at Nintendo consoles, it's always their first-party games. Even Steam doesn't have any new games, but at least it's always their games, but it's their old games. Whereas PlayStation is more like the open third-party platform of the industry in the console world. And even before like PC was blown up, it was still the thing that everybody came to third-party wise. Where you want to play a whole bunch of other people's games and not Sony games. Though when Sony games came out, you enjoyed those too and had memories with those. But Nintendo was the only platform, and they started off making things possible in Western society, and even blown up in Japan too with exclusives. But Sony's highest selling game was always Gran Turismo, which is exclusive. It still sells if you look at the latest GTA. But bar none, when you look at the mass majority of play time, it's third-party games, and that's hosted on the PlayStation. So, that's just how it is.
you've got this install base that's growing for PS5, but ultimately, like, what is the motivation for people to jump on a PS5 if that's the bulk of what people are playing? Is just a thing you can play on the console you bought back in 2014 or whatever.
Performance now, major difference.
PS6, we've heard rumblings about it being a handheld unit, a sort of Switch like, maybe having a more souped up version. Obviously, Sony has departments behind the scenes. They're tinkering, they're making new hardware, they're figuring out what the next generation of consoles is. But the growing trend we've seen with consoles in general is kind of just diminishing returns, where the more powerful the device gets, it's just the longer tail it is on development time. And even now we're just barely starting to see games that are exclusive to this generation of consoles. Like, the fact that it was cross-gen for so long is kind of wild. And it's I guess you wouldn't blame them for wanting to be cautious when you're just now getting people on board the PS5. Are you really going to come out and pull the rug out from under them and just show off a PS6? And again, to the point of like $1,000 consoles, this is the first console generation where the consoles have gotten more expensive ever. That never happens. And yeah, the other thing that comes to mind is that we always talk about how Nintendo is cash rich because they don't sell their consoles at a loss, whereas everyone else does, and they make up the difference on software sales. But yeah, I mean, if the software sales are they're just as good on last gen, then what's the point of taking a hit on carting out a new machine that relies heavily on components that are super duper overpriced? And yeah, I mean, it's a difficult time right now, but we're also seeing this shift in technology and this sort of shift of global economic conditions. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe you put your finger in the water. It's not exactly the right time to launch a new console, and maybe 2 years from now isn't either.
Yeah, Ryan.
That's why I was saying 2028 late has to be the sweet spot, and you have to give people a magical 2026, 2027, and 2028 to where they feel like they got what they needed. And then these components and AI bubbles burst, and the PS6, if Sony can get it to be $700, they will be okay. 800, oh man, that's going to be rough, but I know Sony can get away with it because it's hardware. But even then, like $700, you know what I mean? I know a lot of people say, yeah, $600. Like, I don't know, man, because like the specs are going to be insane now, and I think the Pro will eventually obviously have to be dropped down to like $600 or whatever. That'll keep selling like no matter what. It's one of those things where it didn't sell as much as it did, but then somehow like later on it'll sell more. That's just how this generation is. It is weird. It is backwards. Prices obviously do not go down. AI just made it way worse on top of that, right? And then it makes the consoles that went up that should have went down look more valuable than PC gaming. It's like, dude, all this is insane, right? Yeah, no matter where you go. So the idea of trying to make the PS6 attractive, yeah, I know what he means. First, you have to make the PlayStation 5 price and PlayStation 5 Pro price attractive, which right now it is thanks to the stupid AI stuff. But if that ever goes down and knocks down by that time, then the PS6 is right there. And those prices need to go down. And like Sean Layden said, it needs to be more about power. It needs to be something much more about power. It can't just be about jumping up now because the diminishing returns are now more higher than ever. So we need something else. And he's right.
And how about you?
Well, hey, thanks for bumming me out, Damon.
Sorry. We got some better news coming later.
I know. It's early 2026, and I think you can honestly make a case and say that AI is already ruining the next generation of consoles.
Yeah.
Like, that hasn't even started yet. I mean, I'm grateful to be the gamer age that I am, because I got to live through a number of console generations where it was really exciting and new and fun when there was a new console generation. Mm-hmm. And the one we just lived through, the PS5 and Series X, has, for me, it's obviously a subjective thing. I think definitely for me, it's been the least exciting new, like fall of 2020. Granted, I know there was a global pandemic and that affected kind of the flow of software as sort of a domino effect from the launch of the machines. But just like, it's, the excitement wasn't there, because the recently on Unlocked, we did a fun little exercise over the holidays as like a holiday podcast Unlocked episode, kind of on the back of the 20th anniversary of the Xbox 360, where we ranked the day one launch lineups for all 4 Xbox generations. Like which.
Okay, so the funny thing is, I want to get back to what he was saying first at the beginning. I've been gaming since 1993, since, regular NES damn near. Though that was out before that, but I'm saying that's what I started. Then I went to Super Nintendo in like a year and a half, very quick. I was there for PlayStation 1. I was there for Sega Genesis. I was there for Sega Game Gear. I was there for Game Boy. You know what I mean? I was there for Nintendo 64. I was there for Dreamcast. Like, that's the thing. I was there for PlayStation 2, GameCube, Xbox. I know what he means. All of them. I've been there. And like he said, man, if you weren't there, you're not going to understand. Like, you would have to be able to get that. I got the full experience from beginning all the way to now. And of course, technology has advanced significantly, but gaming development has it in a lot of ways in optimization. And AI has a lot to do with that. It does not make anything better. It literally makes things worse because they're using it the wrong way. Now, there are some times where it can help, obviously, but when you think about the mass majority of its results, it is almost like you just never wanted it to appear ever because people are stupid. And greed is a huge problem. Yeah, and betrayal. I mean, you see it all over the place. So that's the problem. And if you guys weren't there in those earlier days, I'm telling you, there was nothing like it. It was different, and custom coding was real. It wasn't just lights up, on and off switches to do everything for you that they have with this Unreal Engine 5 and all this nonsense. No, man, the game came out, it was ready. And they were just really good. And there was a balance to there, and everybody in the industry was actually gamers. You see, there were real communities, there was real feedback and communication between the developer and the publisher and the community. And it was awesome. Today, it's like, oh man, it's too much fake stuff, too much greed, too much invasion in the gaming industry that was not there before. It's not 100% gaming anymore. There's a lot of, let me just say this, manipulated psychological gambling exploitations, where it was like you would just buy the game to play the game. Now they're trying to turn it into a gambling addiction. It's like, all this stuff is stupid. And then all these losers that get in the gaming industry that are not gamers too. They don't let people play video games. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, all this stuff. It's just like, go away.
Which generation had the best day one launch lineup? And the Series S and X came in dead last, and there really wasn't even an argument because, especially as I went back and looked over the list, there were no games that you had to have the Series X or S for.
True.
And the PlayStation 5 wasn't much better. It had the Demon's Souls remake at least. But my point here is that, which Max was already getting into, the PlayStation 6 and inevitable next Xbox, which is going to be this, I guess, this PC, console hybrid thing, it's probably going to continue that, to use Max's effective term there, diminishing returns of excitement and fun in terms of the launch, like the actual, like it's not just going to be this monumental thing for gamers where it's like, oh my gosh, the new PlayStation, the new Xbox are launching. It's going to be, oh, how much are they? $1,000? Oh, and
yeah.
Well, last time I didn't even really need to buy one. The games didn't even take advantage of it for half the generation. So I'm going to sit it out. It's not healthy for the economics, I think, of the console space, but it's also kind of not healthy for the enthusiasm of the hobby, which I know is impossible to quantify, and maybe it's meaningless in the grand business scheme of things. But the new generation of gamers that's growing up, like Damon, you have young children. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be the same for them, you'd want it to be more exciting for them than it was. You always want better for your kids than what you had, but at least in terms of gaming, it's just not going to be as exciting. It's going to be like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll play on whatever device is in front of me, and that's fine. But I don't know. I think the industry, just like I do think the industry suffers for not having E3 anymore, which is, I know, is a separate conversation. I think this is an even bigger sort of enthusiasm crisis, if you will, about the future of particularly console gaming. So there's my rant on that.
No, I get it. We're sometimes called the enthusiast press, which is a term I actually think is appropriate and I like. And yeah, when you think about these things, it is a little bit harder to be enthusiastic about, the next few years in gaming. Thinking just about RAM prices for a second.
Yeah, he's right though. Like definitely for the younger audience, because then you got online safety aspects too. But they came out and said they're going to improve that, and that's what I mean by like weirdos, creeps. You're not a gamer. What are you doing? You're a weirdo. It's like the people that sit there trying to use AI to spy. You are a weirdo and a creep. People are sitting here trying to play video games and enjoy themselves, but you got these weirdos and creeps that are a huge problem, and they need to be outed. Windows is a problem with backdooring and all the creepy stuff. You see what I mean? That's why nobody likes Windows 11, the spyware and the enforcement upon you and the Copilot. It's like nobody wants the weird, creepy stuff. That's not what gaming is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be a haven. You're supposed to be sitting there having fun. But, weirdos and creeps, they mess with other people's experiences. I'm mature, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of other people, like I said, definitely in the Roblox community. Dude, that's like I said, that's just weirdo town to the deepest degree. And that should not be happening to people's young children because they want to get online and play games. Because online is now different compared to when we were growing up. There was no online. There was a different way of enjoying things. There was no AI like that. But now you have this weird, and I'm not going to say I'm not going to say community because that's not a community. They're just weirdos that do not belong in this community and they need to be jailed immediately. And that online surveillance needs to be more professional. People need to be monitored more. People should not be able to be getting on DOS tools. They should not be able to install like rootkits or be able to get into these weird situations and lure children on it. No. All that stuff needs to be monitored. Consoles need to be protected more. All that type of stuff. You guys have so much money, but you're sitting here allowing all this security breach, and it's like it's weird. No. You have the money to improve that. It shouldn't be allowed. Windows 11 shouldn't be weird like it is either, but it is. It tells you how weird Microsoft is.
Max, do you think there's a possibility a Sony or a Microsoft or a Valve could negotiate lower prices on RAM than consumers because they're buying in bulk?
That's a question that is far above my pay grade. I would like to think so. I'd also like to just optimistically think there's some way they can sort of tap dance around it or figure out an alternate solution. I don't know. Sony has a great track record of having weird proprietary technology that it forces on its users. So who knows? Maybe they have some new form of memory that we can rely on. I'm kidding. I have no idea.
Well, Ryan,
they'll figure it out.
My 5-year-old PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X don't feel old to me yet. I'm actually perfectly happy with them. So I'm not in any real hurry to get a new generation of consoles. Do you think there's a good possibility that both Xbox and PS5 could be looking at this and like Max was saying earlier, pushing back the launch of their new consoles?
Absolutely. I mean, the end of the day, these are businesses, and they are going to make the decision that makes them the most money in both the short term and the long term. And if they're staring down a significant cost increase to make the machine on their side for whatever reason, whether it's one part or several parts, it doesn't really matter. And they're looking at the long tail of it, and if they think they can make more money by just holding off the launch to get a cheaper cost of goods, then they're absolutely going to do it. And that analyst that Jackie was speaking to, that you were mentioning at the top there, Damon, suggested that this could last into 2027 or even potentially 2028. Now, analysts are professional estimators, really. We don't want to necessarily take that as gospel, right? But at the same point, it is a professional opinion from somebody who is paid to monitor that world. And so, I mean, the rumblings on the street, the word on the street's been that Xbox is looking at fall of 2027 for the hybrid Xbox console, Xbox PC machine. And so, I think that is obviously they haven't announced anything. So as far as we're concerned, they haven't delayed anything. But if that word on the street is accurate, then I certainly think there's a great possibility that they push that back, unless, as you and Max were kind of debating, and like I said, we don't have the info on this, but if in fact those contracts are signed far enough in advance by the console makers with their suppliers, maybe they are immune to this RAM situation if they've signed a deal for 10 million units worth of RAM if they've already signed those deals prior to 3-4 months ago, then maybe we're okay and the timelines will be unaffected. But it's that's debatable at this point.
It is, Ryan, because they stormed out of that building over in South Korea with Samsung and SK Hynix. They didn't get that deal. They were angry. They tried to move their base out of China into Vietnam, which they did. And then it says they didn't secure enough RAM. No, Microsoft did not, because they're slow. We know this, right? Sony got ahead of them, and Nintendo has their own LTAs. So, no, I don't think so. And then you think of when they do get that deal, which they've been trying to get, they're going to think about the Magnus. No, they're going to think about AI data centers, because they're behind. Their stock just went down again. They already almost got 5th place on the in the market cap. They've tanked all the way down. People are doubting them. Investors are pulling out. They're worried about AI right now. They're going to put the Magnus in the back. We all know this too. Microsoft is not trustworthy. I'm telling you, 100% they're going to do it. And then they're going to try to charge you out the ass for the Magnus. Right? They're going to charge a lot for that thing. I mean, I don't really see that selling more than the Steam machine. I think that it may even sell less. It's not going to be reachable for the majority of the audience, and because they're going to realize it's a PC. They already have that, and the PC market is already insane. Magnus is in that position because it's trying to be a PC, and the PC market is insane. So I don't see how there can't be a delay, and how it can't be ridiculous and just not be that attractive. Doesn't matter about the power and technology, because I mean, what else are you going to show? Everything you have can be played everywhere else, and it's not about power. It never was. That never won anything. So
here in early 2026.
Yeah.
Definitely uncertain times. We'll have to see how the situation unfolds with the RAM shortage going on, throughout 2026 at the very least. But on a lighter note, we do have some good news. It's actually good news for both Xbox and PlayStation. Of course, Xbox is a third-party publisher now. They're spreading their games around. Yeah. They brought a bunch of their games over to PS5. Forza Horizon 5 has been actually quite successful on PS5, according to Alinea Analytics.
Okay. So yeah, we've done that already. I'll cover those videos already. So you guys let me know what you think about this, about AI affecting PS6 and AI affecting the Xbox Magnus, potentially. I don't know. Some people like Dreamcast guy think it's going to get canceled. And then how this generation obviously is the most weirdest off the wall generation of all time, and has also been ruined because of AI. Even before the RAM stuff, you had the Unreal Engine 5. You had the stuttering. You had the releasing broken games and just upscaling and telling you need this many specifications. Yeah, I mean, we can look at this generation wrong in so many ways and say, you need to fix this and make it better before you think about releasing anything next gen. Definitely Microsoft. I was like, no, 2028 at the earliest. For PlayStation, late 2028 or 2029, which sounds better. Either way, yeah, there needs to be some more answers, and we need to get more closer to the middle of this year to see how things really turn out. All right, y'all, as usual, bringing you awesome content. Thank you for all the support. Love y'all. Peace. Leave comments down below and leave that like, please, and hype. Later.